Hi, this is Graham Jeacocke. Now, there's a very interesting episode within the book of 1Kings, and I think it's relevant for everyone, even those who don't believe in it, because it deals with the very nature of justice. And if justice does not get lived out in this life, then you have to satisfy the demand of it in some way. And King David is evidence of this coveting desire for it. So, without further ado, I'll begin. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 5, I think. Further, you know what Joab son of Jeruiah did to me, what he did to the two commanders of Israel's forces, Abner son of Ner and Amasa son of Jether. He killed them, shedding blood of war in peacetime, staining the girdle of his loins and the sandals on his feet with blood of war. So act in accordance with your wisdom, and see that his white hair does not go down to Sheol in peace. Now, this last verse, and see that his white hair does not go down to Sheol in peace. Now, it was rather odd of King David to word it as he did. So act in accordance with your wisdom. You mean, David, should you not have said, look to God, for God gave you your wisdom? Anyway, this last point can also be applied to atheists, everyone who doesn't believe in God. Because this deals with the very nature of justice. Because if someone does something to you, you feel this coveting desire to do something about it, to quench it in some way. You see this heartache of King David. He killed them, shedding blood of war in peacetime. Now, this, if I was to give an example, Bruce Lee represents atheism. Now, in his film, Way of the Dragon, Chuck Norris is represented by the bad guy. He's like the Goliath. He represents evil. Now, Chuck Norris Chuck Norris didn't kill people, but the people who brought Chuck Norris in killed the people, but they were not very good themselves, so they relied on Chuck, who had skills, to defeat Bruce Lee's character. Now, this is exactly the position King David was telling about. He killed people, so he wanted justice. Now, Bruce wanted justice because of all the people that his enemies had killed. So they fought. And in the end, Chuck Norris died. But quite disturbingly, and I don't think many atheists understand that, when he put the karate top over his head, because Bruce was acknowledging, he was saying, oh, I honour you even though I killed you. You see, I think people are treading a very dangerous line of justification. Now, this brings back, why did King David and Bruce Lee not rely on God? I mean, I can understand Bruce Lee's position. He rejected the notion of God. He didn't think justice would happen. But here we have in the Bible, this man, and even God himself says, he was a man after my own heart. Now, King David made a lot of mistakes. But here's another mistake written. He commanded his son. He didn't quite see. King David did not see the revelation of justice. You see, Rabbi Tovia Singer makes the mistake that revelation needs to be written out. But the revelation of justice was written out in the Old Testament, and the Jews did not see it. And the most highly prized Jew, well, this is another argument I'm just going to add. King David, the house of David, this man, he actually says it. And see that his white hair does not go down to Sheol in peace. He did not understand the revelation of God and justice. Maybe he did, but it just slipped his mind at this point. Because he was old. I could give him that argument. But here's another. It's very interesting this how atheists view the Jewish faith. Because within Israel nation as a whole, you see, all the tribes do not like the house of David. Well, I don't know individual cases, but from the Bible's perspective, no one likes the house of David. So this is an interesting what's the expression? This is a good illustration of the position of atheism. Atheism looks to the Jewish faith or Christianity, says, why did God pick one nation? But we can see why. Because if we look within the Israel nation as a whole and take a microscope to it, we have 12 tribes. But God did not pick the 12 tribes because only one person represented God's heart. And God said, David was a man after my own heart. Here was one person, and there was none through the other tribes. So, atheists need to understand the problem that Israel has as a nation, to understand from the outside looking in, from the atheist perspective, why God chose one nation. Anyway, I better not say anything in case I get more confusing than I should be, if I am confused. I don't think I am confused. I may be confused with the words I say, but I'm not confused with what I ultimately believe. Anyway, let me go. Anyway, I can let you go by pressing stop.